in the last 6 months, how many men have you heard reported being raped by another man?
Do this guy.
And there's our girlfriend.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to, I think this episode's 8 because the other one was 7. Yeah, no, okay. This one's 7. No, we did like a 6.5 or something like that though before, didn't we?
Oh yeah, there was one.
Yeah, so that one's in there too. So thanks for coming here, everybody. I'm here with Bobby Majors once again, and we're here to talk about how Bill Cosby had an overturned court thing that happened, right? So it says Bill Cosby freed as court overturns his sex assault conviction. The entertainer had been serving a 3 to 10 year sentence in a prison outside of Philadelphia. And then there's a menacing photo of him. And we are on the NewYorkTimes.com is where I'm reading this from.
Right.
And it's published June 30th, 2021, updated July 2nd. Bill Cosby was released from prison Wednesday after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned his 2018 conviction for sexual assault, a dramatic reversal in one of the first high-profile criminal trials of the Me Too era. So New York, the New York Times at least, is actually publishing things #Me Too era, which is pretty interesting. We'll get back into this, though, shortly. The court's decision seemed likely to end the Pennsylvania case, legal experts said. And while more than 50 women across the nation have accused Mr. Cosby of sexual assault and misconduct, the statute of limitations in their cases makes further prosecutions unlikely.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Mr. Cosby had served 3 years of a 3 to 10 year sentence at a maximum security prison outside of Philadelphia when the court ruled that a non-prosecution agreement with a previous prosecutor meant that Mr. Cosby should not have been charged in the case. Mr. Cosby, now 83 years old, returned to his home in suburban Philadelphia on Wednesday afternoon, where, looking frail and walking slowly, he was helped inside by his lawyer and spokesman. He flashed a V, I suppose this sign, a peace sign, as he reached his front door. It must be this, unless it was this. But he had no Quaaludes in his hand, so I guess it couldn't have been that. The court's decision overturned the first major criminal conviction of the #Me Too era. I'm going to puke in a bag if I have to keep on reading #Me Too era, Bob, which came soon after allegations of sexual assault had been made against him. The powerful Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. That's also an interesting case, isn't it? The accusations and eventual conviction of Mr. Cosby stunned the nation, painting a disturbing portrait suggesting that a man who had brightened America's living rooms as a beloved father figure had been a sexual predator. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So, Bob, as a law expert, someone who has worked in law, what do you take away from this?
Okay, so basically, the American justice system. So what happened was, and I'll break it down easily, was I'm going to do something real quick because this helps out.
Just getting some notes out.
Just, okay, so just it'll come up.
Yeah.
So anyway, the American justice system. Okay, so the American justice system works in this way. You have criminal proceedings and civil proceedings. Now, you remember Kobe Bryant, and I know the story behind the Kobe Bryant thing. We won't get into it, but it was all bullshit. It was a setup to get to the civil case. Now, in criminal cases, you have to have the evidence is scrutinized like through the head of a needle. You can't have hearsay. You can't have, the evidence has to be clear and reasonable. Now, a civil case is about collecting damages. Now, most of these cases, and I do not in any way want to disrespect any victim of sexual harassment, both male and female. And I'll tell you why I say male and female in a little bit. But
someone pinched your butt.
But there you go. What they do is they charge them criminally, find out that the evidence isn't going to hold. They make an agreement. They take it to civil court, bring up all this bullshit, spend a little bit of money, and then the guy agrees, the famous guy agrees to pay money to solve the problem, which in this case, Bill Cosby paid her $3.38 million in the civil case. Now, the guy that was handling it told him, for the civil case, just admit you did it, and we will not come at you criminally. We just want to get this over with. You can pay the fee to the woman and get on with it because we're American. Rich guy who at this moment his net worth is still $400 million as he just got out of jail. Okay, so what happened was a new prosecutor came in and wanted to make a name for himself, which is the same thing that happens in the lower courts and in the police departments and everywhere in America that involves justice. A new guy comes in or a new female comes in and becomes the chief of police or the fucking head prosecutor, and they're like, I'm going to make a name for myself. I'm going to charge Bill Cosby, even though the last loser made a deal with him. So that's what he did. And so Bill Cosby is still guilty of raping women, but he is free today because the new prosecutor overstepped his bound, wanted to make a name for himself, and fucked up himself. Now, he'll never admit it because prosecutors are known for making a lot of mistakes, but they'll never be wrong even when they're proven wrong, and they'll never apologize for being wrong. But Bill Cosby is a serial sexual predator, and he's free tonight because a prosecutor wanted to make a name for himself. That's the bottom line.
That's pretty fucked up. Yeah. So, and the things that he was doing to women, for anyone who doesn't know about this, maybe you've been living under a rock for the last 5 years or something, and you don't know about what he did. Basically, he was drugging these actresses who were looking for a big break for small parts on The Cosby Show, whether there was just a passing role to get them on TV or not. And then he would give them Quaaludes and sleeping pills and all these sorts of weird things, and then do stuff to them when they were unconscious.
Dude, okay, so that brings me to my two things. Okay, one is the person that this one involved, I believe, was a student at Howard University where Bill Cosby worked at the time, and he just went to his house for advice. She didn't even want to roll. But from what I understand, this has been going on for 20 years or so. But like you said, statute of limitations runs out. I think it's 7 years in America for things like this. I want to know if this happened in the last 7 years. Where is he getting Quaaludes from? Because that's my favorite.
The cause.
Dude, but that's my favorite drug. And everyone told me
you got some of those things right there that you can just put them in.
They say he can't get them no more.
I put my balls on her head and rub them.
So the irony to all this, to me as a comedian, and like I said, go ahead and hate me, put it in the comments. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a jerk, whatever. But okay, for one, I listened to Bill Cosby when I was a kid, and I liked him until he insulted Richard Pryor. And Richard Pryor is my hero. Oh, he says, well, okay, this is my point. So he didn't like Richard Pryor because Richard Pryor used the word fuck a lot and the N-word a lot in his act. But Richard Pryor's upbringing...
Sometimes both in the same sentence.
Right. Well, Richard Pryor was more real than Bill Cosby.
Absolutely.
But anyhow,
absolutely. And way funnier.
So he insulted Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
But he also came over as this kind of like Uncle Tom guy, like where he criticized black youths for baggy pants and all this other stuff. Yet at the same time, behind the curtain, he was worse than the gangsters. I know gangsters. We have rules that we follow.
Yeah, I do too. Very few gang guys or drug dealers that I know have ever raped someone. Actually, as far as I know, none of them have ever raped somebody.
Why would they? They got a pocket full of drugs and a pocket full of cash. They can have any woman they want. It's the same with Rich.
And if the chick passes out, you kind of take her shit and throw her away. You don't fucking fuck her.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
How
good? Like, like why we don't like virgins and shit? Because they do the fish, right? Which is like, the dead fish thing where they don't move around or anything. Can you imagine fucking a chick when she's asleep?
Right.
It's awful.
Right.
But I think it was kind of a power play thing to him. Some of the interviews and things I've read, this is just hearsay from things on YouTube and Google, right? So, you can take that with a grain of salt. But apparently he was really into the power that it would bring him to be able to do that to somebody. He would.
But then that means
he would be like, bring me. He would be like, bring me a cucumber sandwich, but take all the seeds out of the cucumber, kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, then that means that he's behind the scenes being emasculated by his wife, who has stood by him through all of this.
Potentially.
God only knows why.
Money.
But yeah, money. $400 million worth.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird fucking thing for a guy that was that famous, that rich, loved by both black and white people, and could have had anybody in the world, and yet he had to resort to rape, to satisfy his urge, which is odd.
Yeah. And I love Jello pudding pops. I love those, man. Those are
like I said. I liked him up until he started criticizing Richard Pryor, and I'm just like, you know what, dude? I mean, you grew up in Pennsylvania. You had the opportunity to go to college and all this. You had opportunities that other black people didn't have. Richard Pryor was raised by his grandmother, who was a madam in a whorehouse, and his father was a pimp that owned a pool hall. So Richard Pryor had a different upbringing, and that's what he talks about in his comedy. Was this, his life comes to light, and it is what it is. Clean comics don't bother me. I've done shows with comics that don't curse, and
Absolutely.
when they're done, I'm like, well, how do you do that? Because I gotta throw a fuck in there once in a while. Just
you have to. It just puts on the exclamation mark. So
I like the word.
So how about this kind of thing right here? So it says a civil suit that she filed against Bill Cosby, talk about Miss Constand, sorry if I'm saying that the wrong way, was settled in 2006 for $3.38 million. So legally, now that he's not guilty technically, or now that he's not serving time for being guilty, does he get that money back at all?
No, they're two different cases. A civil case and a criminal case are two different cases.
Okay,
yeah.
So all these other things where he's settled out of court, he still has to pay that out, right? And so there's no.
He's already paid it. And,
okay.
And when Kobe Bryant was 18, 19, just in the NBA, he came right out of high school.
Okay.
And he gave it away. He fucked up and he didn't know it. He's a kid. He didn't know.
Yeah.
And he fucked up and he made a statement that implicated that Shaquille O'Neal told him, look, dude, we're out on the road. You're going to meet women, even though you're married. Just give them 20 grand or whatever, and they'll never tell on you and you'll be fine. And Kobe let that slip out. And that's what started the friction between Kobe and Shaq. Dude, famous people do it all the fucking time, man. They could be married and be happily married, but when they're on the road 8 to 9 months out of the year.
What are you talking about? No.
They're
Why would a man with tons of money and fame ever fuck around and want more than one woman? Why would he ever do that? You're a bad man. You're just generalizing. No. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Dude, I watched a documentary called "Decline of Western Civilization: The Heavy Metal Years."
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was, and they talked about bands that were playing at the whiskey that come out the back, and there'd be guys from the band in the dumpster fucking women, like
of course,
fucking women.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going on.
Usually you put her.
Hollywood
usually do the standing doggy style against the wall thing, right? But you're gonna jump in there.
Yeah. So
right? Looking for McDonald's at the same time. He must have been a bass player.
I think that if you fall in love with someone who is famous, not someone working for fame. Like, I'm never working for fame. What I'm working for is I want my kids to be able to look back 40 years after I die and press play and show their kids what an idiot their father was. That's my goal in life,
Sweet.
That I was cool.
Yeah,
and an
but
idiot.
If you're gonna go and do that, right? If you're gonna do the fame thing, what are you gonna do?
But if you get famous, right, and a lady falls in love with me, and she knows that part of my fame involves being on the road 8 to 10 months out of the year, and I'm only going to be a husband at home 1 or 2 months out of the year, there's got to be an agreement there that both of you are probably not going to be able to stay loyal the whole fucking time.
That's how
it's just human nature.
So
it's human nature.
Going back to Cosby, woman, Janice Dickinson, a former model who had told the court that Mr. Cosby raped her in 1982 after giving her a pill. Her account was one of the 5 prosecution presented from women who said he had drugged and sexually assaulted them. Said after the sentencing that my heart is beating out of my chest at the moment. This is fair and just. I am victorious. So here's the thing, right? And I'm sure that this point has been argued before. I just haven't really done a lot of research on this topic. I just thought it was really interesting to talk about because he got released the other day. But this happened in 1982. I was born in 1988. So we're talking about a fair amount of time for this to have gone by. Why did this person, Janice Dickinson, and all these other women not stand up for it when it happened?
Because American culture, the men never believed the women. And I'll give you an example.
You can argue that.
And I'll give you it's a basic fact.
Okay.
If a teenage girl in America disappears and she's not home, she could be a straight A student. She's home every night at 8:00 on the spot. Blah, blah, blah. Follows a strict schedule.
Yeah.
She does not come home. She's had a perfect life. If she does not come home and at midnight, 1:00 in the morning, the parents called the police and say, hey, our daughter has not come home. She's usually home by now. They will tell them you have to wait 24 hours. She probably ran away.
Okay.
And
so
they don't believe that. They think that women are just not believable.
But for that many women, for that to happen to, obviously they didn't talk to each other or know each other. Obviously they wouldn't be like sitting at the water cooler. Oh yeah, Bill fucked me too. Right. So they're not talking to each other about that or anything. So I guess there was no coordination from it. But I still think that's a very interesting thing for that not to have even been brought up until this point. So who was the main woman? Like the first one to come forward?
I don't know, but I think
Patricia Stewart, and again, I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, 65 years old, who accused Mr. Cosby of drugging and assaulting her in 1978 and 1980, said that she had been preparing herself for the possibility that Mr. Cosby's conviction would be overturned, but that she was still a little stunned by the court's ruling on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then she says, to quote her, I'm wondering what the 43-year-old No, the 43-year ordeal that I went through was supposed to be about, said Mrs. Stewart, who said she found out about the decision on Facebook. So did I. But she said she was consoled by the fact that I believed we did the only thing that we could, which was to come forward and tell the truth. Now, and again, I fully sympathize with these women who have allegedly been raped and abused by Mr. Cosby. But at the same time, I think they should have stood up and made a stink about it. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just not seeing anything on that. I'm not seeing anything on that. Yeah.
They didn't, because when it's Bill Cosby and a woman in a room by themselves, there's your legal issue right there.
Yeah,
he said, she said.
Starting late recently. Now, I won't say his friend, and we're not a huge podcast, so I won't say the name of the guy, but I know him, and he's a friend of mine. And we won't say his name on here because just out of respect of him not beating me up later. He was a well-known person in the entertainment industry who was not a performer, but he worked in the entertainment industry. And last year, he went through a scandal, now given not nearly as big as the Bill Cosby one, because Bill Cosby's the superstar. There were no witnesses, and people claimed that he was sexually assaulting people. And there was no actual physical evidence. They were just saying these things. And then other people would come forward, but not even say who they were. They would give anonymous, I guess, like write-ins or whatever the heck it was. And as a result of this, he lost all of his clients, and he was slandered and had his face posted all over Google and all these other music sites, entertainment sites, that said that he was a sex offender.
Right.
And, whether he is or not, that's not the point. The point is there was no proof of it. There's the Harvey Weinstein thing. And again, no proof either way. So they could very well have been a piece of shit. I'm not saying that, you should go do that, right? Clearly, if the man did do that, there's proof of it. There's more than 50 women coming forward to get a piece of Cosby. Okay. All right. Like, fully agree. Okay. Like this one particularly, yeah, he fucked up pretty good. Like he should not have done that. And clearly, if there's that many people saying that he did fuck around, then I guess he did fuck around. Michael Jackson, for example, right? Another guy, total fucking nut job.
Okay. Did you say Michael Jackson?
Yeah, he's a total nut job, right? But he's awesome.
Okay, so let's look at that. So people affiliate him with child molestation, correct?
I'm not 100% sure what everyone was saying.
No, but that's
pretty much
people that
he was touching young boys and inviting them. Well, they say that he was inviting young boys to his room, and then he would do things to them there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking a question because I got the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They actually had a court case on it, and he was acquitted of all charges and found innocent.
Okay.
But yet the stigma, even today, after his death, is he's a child molester.
Of course.
Even though he was acquitted by a court. He was found.
Okay, now for everyone who doesn't know the court things, the court terminology, what is the difference between being acquitted of something and having something overturned like Mr. Cosby?
Okay, acquitted or found not guilty. If you go to a criminal case, in this case, the whack job from Home Alone happened to be
that fuckwad.
happened to be a guest at Michael Jackson's house a lot, and he and also Corey Feldman used to spend a lot of time at Michael Jackson's little ranch, and they said he never did anything inappropriate. So acquitted is the jury unanimously found him not guilty based on the evidence that was produced. And so now he could never be tried on that again. Okay. Now, what this is that they're saying that the prosecutor broke his own word when they said they would not criminally charge him, and so he admitted to doing it under the impression that it wouldn't be held against him, and so he he gave up his right to plead the fifth, because when you get arrested in America, you read your rights. You have the right to remain silent. I always tell people that if you get arrested, when they read your rights, you have the right to remain silent. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And so what they're saying was, we're waiving that on you. You can talk and we will not criminally prosecute you. Mm-hmm. And then the next guy came in and used the same statement to prosecute him. And so that's what the judge did, was he just threw that he says he is guilty of what he did, but because the past prosecutor promised him that they would not criminally charge him if he admitted to it, then he's okay. But because
That's
did
a
it,
broken system, don't you think?
Yeah, what they call it, it's called due process, and everyone's entitled to it. That's why everybody gets mad, like, Ted Bundy, whatever, all these crazy evil fuckers out there. And you have defense attorneys. Ironically, the guy that was the prosecutor for Cosby, when he got him to admit he roofied women to get that $3.38 million verdict, now works defense, which a lot of them do. A lot of prosecutors learn the system through prosecution, and then they figure out where the real money is. And that's in defense, because by law, everybody in America that's charged with a crime is afforded an attorney. Now, if you can't afford one will be assigned to you. You don't want that. That's why guys worth $400 million at this moment, after 3 years in jail, can pay for the appeals process to go all the way to the Supreme Court, which will cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and get let go on an agreement that wasn't even written down. From what I understand, it was just a verbal agreement. And guys like that movie, When They Saw Us, who were from a poor black neighborhood in the Bronx, none of them could afford an attorney, so they all had public defenders, which are just the most overworked, underpaid lawyers on the planet. And then you got them fighting the New York prosecutors, who have all the resources, all the money, all the everything in the world. And these four guys go to jail forever, and they were all innocent, So
yeah, it's fucked up. Or like young black guy in a fucking black neighborhood gets pulled over for speeding, goes away for 2 years, that kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Some fucked up stuff. So it says, Scott Berkowitz, the president of RAIN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, said that we are deeply disappointed in today's ruling by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and by the message this decision sends to brave survivors who came forward to seek justice for what Bill Cosby did to them. This is not justice. Others expressed support for Mr. Cosby. Felicia Rashad, who appeared as Mr. Cosby's wife in The Cosby Show, praised the decision on Twitter. Finally, quotes, Ms. Rashad, who was recently named the Dean of Howard University's College of Fine Arts, wrote on Twitter, a terrible wrong is being righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. She later wrote, I fully support survivors of sexual assault coming forward. My post was in no way intended to be insensitive to their truth. That's a fence-sitting comment if I've ever heard one, eh? The decision undoes a verdict that several women who said that they had been assaulted and raped by Mr. Cosby had praised at the time as a measure of justice that had been long incoming. In a victim impact statement filed with the court in 2018, Miss Constand, again, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, had said of Mr. Cosby, we may never know the full extent of his double life as a sexual predator. but his decades-long reign of terror as a serial rapist is over. So that's actually interesting to take in. So Scott Berkowitz of Rain, right, says that that's fucked up, and it is fucked up. Meanwhile, the co-star, who is Miss Felicia Rashad, right, Mrs. Cosby, said that it's a mistake and that he shouldn't have been put in there. That's an interesting thing. So to have other celebrities now going forward with saying no, like free Cosby, like he's fucking Manson or something,
right,
picketing for the guy with the swastika on his fucking forehead. That's really interesting. I would just like to know what Lenny Kravitz's wife, that really hot chick who played one of the daughters on the Cosby Show, what has to say about this.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously you must be a Lenny Kravitz fan, because
I got his pants and his crotch stuffing accessories. So I shop at the same grocery store that he gets his cucumber at, and I get the same tinfoil from there, right? But that's about it.
Yeah, I can't stand songs that are the same fucking 3 lyrics that go on and on and on.
And the same 3 chords. And I haven't managed to shave all my chest hair yet and put on nail polish, but I'm one step at a time, though, I guess.
But it is interesting that people will support this, especially women, which is crazy, because if you remember correct, well, no, you don't, because you're fucking too young. But Ted Bundy was a horrible human being.
Yeah, and his women love
and
it.
Yet,
I watch all the serial murderer things, man.
Yet during his murder trial in Florida, girls were showing up because they were basically in love with him. They wanted to.
Same with Manson and all that shit, dude. Like all those psychopaths that get into the minds of fucked up people. But I don't think that Miss Rashad is really fucked up. I think she's a level-headed person. She's the dean of a university, for Christ's sakes. So it's an interesting point of view. I would like to know more about what she's having to say about this. But obviously, I
want to know. Yeah, I want to know, and all that shit he talked about the black youth and how embarrassing they are to him and the way they act and shit. And then he ends up in prison. And I want to know if he had to click up, what gang he joined, for protection. I want to know if when they, all those gangsters that were in that prison that he insulted for all those years. Yeah. I wonder if they just fucking ran a train on his ass, like, all right.
The old saying, right? Do you have, are all of your socks pink, or is it just the one?
Yeah. And then,
it's like, I don't think they would have fucked Bill Cosby. Actually, you know what? If I was a bad motherfucker and I was in prison and I knew that I could fuck Bill Cosby, I probably would.
Out of all the people famous that have been thrown in jail, the only one, because Tupac went to jail, and he was a little guy.
Suge Knight.
And there's always someone in jail that's going to prove themselves. Yeah. The only person in my lifetime that's been to jail, went prison, that I know didn't get jumped and all that was Mike Tyson.
Did not get raped.
Right, would be Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson, when he was thrown in jail or prison at that age, he was the toughest motherfucker in the world.
Toughest motherfucker on the planet on those things. Remember those old fights, man? Like before the Holyfield fight. That was a mean motherfucker. Yeah, so he's the only one that I believe they that if there was one guy that wanted to make, because they all want to prove themselves. I'm trying to think of the story of a famous criminal that went to jail, and then he got stabbed, and it was just by a street level gangster to prove himself. Like some of them, depends on how much of a celebrity you are. I'm sure Bill Cosby had his own cell. I'm sure he didn't have to shower with everybody. I'm sure that he got to eat his meals inside the cell if he wanted to, because it's a celebrity prison. He's got a lot of money. But if you're a C-list celebrity, like Michael Richards or something like that, right?
Yeah. Well,
Then he'd be butt fucked for sure.
he'll probably never work again. We know that.
Cosby?
We got the guy right now from the '70s show that he's been charged or
Which guy?
accused now. I never watched the show, but he was not.
It wasn't
Not
the redhead
Apple.
chick. Was it the bad guy from RoboCop? The dad? The bald bad guy from RoboCop?
No. It's one the head stoner with the glasses, not
I don't even know.
Ashton Kutcher
The
or
one with
whatever.
the fro?
Yeah, with the Jufro. Yeah,
That's funny shit. Really? He went.
Yeah.
What did he go
Oh,
for?
yeah. It's all in the news. Yeah.
What did he
he's
get
been,
fun for?
Yeah. Look for it. But he's been.
Yeah.
He's been accused of sexual harassment so much now that he's not. His career is pretty much over.
Sexual harassment again, huh?
Yeah.
Danny
So
Masterson pleads not
yeah.
guilty to charges of rape.
Right.
$3.3 million bail. Back in court, March 24th. Interesting.
Yeah. So and so he guys like that. It happened once, and you could kind of walk your way, away from it because you're famous. But with this, like you said, Me Too movement,
I just don't like how it takes so long, because like apparently it said Danny Masterson charged of raping 3 women between 2001 and 2003 in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like that's a long fucking time ago, man. I don't
How
think
many
that's...
men? Give me. In the last 6 months, how many men have you heard reported being raped by another man?
I don't think I've ever heard that in my life.
How often does it happen, do you think?
In prison, I would imagine it happens
No,
every day.
outside in the real world.
I really wouldn't be able to tell you a figure. How many times do you think?
A lot.
Yeah? Like where? Like between gay guys or between just like guys just hanging out?
No, guys, there's an example when I was in Iraq. I was in Balat for 2 days.
Oh, yeah, okay. If we're going to talk Middle East shit. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
No, but on the base,
Yeah.
a military member
Yeah.
was serial raping men.
That's so
and they
funny.
only found out because one guy reported it.
Yeah, well, this is not like guy on guy.
Well, I'm just saying,
strange military rape. Like this is like
it's the same humiliation that goes on. Like you watch these shows where guys that live in these small country towns are attacked and raped by another guy, and the guy won't report it because it's so humiliating to him. I believe that would be the same for women. Like the humiliation.
Yeah, I'm guessing so, but they're coming forward like 17, 20 years, 40 years later. I don't know about that.
Well, and then you hear one person finally gets the huevos enough to say something, and then the train, no pun intended, comes up and's like, oh yeah, well that happened to me too in 1974. I thought I was the only one. It turns out there were 300 of us. But yeah, I mean, it's because no one believes them. And it's also humiliating to the affected party, the victim.
But at the same time, there's that whole rape culture thing going on. Well, anti-rape culture thing where, for example, in Canada, if I bring a girl over to my house after she's actually asked to come over to my house, after we've had dinner, after all this stuff, and I touch her pussy without asking, I am now doing something. I'm now violating her touching her without her consent. I am now technically a rapist in the eyes of many people after doing that.
Dude, was the...
So at the same time of being... So I understand what you're saying, right? But at the same time, we have the other extreme going on. So I don't really see why they're not coming forward a lot sooner, given now some of that shit with Cosby that happened in the 70s and stuff, right? But the last guy, 2001, 2003, I don't know, dude.
Oh, dude, I have a friend that is a former a world champion boxer from Chicago, originally from Mexico. And he was 19 and his girlfriend was 17. She is now his wife, and they have a son who's also in the boxing game. But he got charged with statutory rape, and they deported him. And he had to register as a sex offender. He's still married to her, and he's still raised
Still
that
a
son.
sex offender.
And he's still boxing and all that. But in America, he's a registered sex offender, man.
Yeah.
You know,
it's fucked up. So you know, two sides of the sword right there for sure. That's definitely a fucked up thing for everybody. So it's an interesting culture that we're living in. I'm not defending Bill Cosby. I'm not defending the guy from that 70s show or any of that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I think that it was handled not in the best way. And I think that in the future, if anyone is raped or assaulted in any kind of way, especially by not just celebrities, you should come forward right away. You should make a big stink about it right away.
So this will lose 20% of the people that said on the last show and sent messages that
who cares?
These guys off a little bit, but okay. If I perform a show at a casino lounge on a 3-day booking and I have a room at the lounge or at the hotel connected to the lounge, and after my show, I'm sitting there drinking my beer, and I'll drink my beer because I hope one day to have a beer sponsor. Hey guys, sponsor me. But I'll be drinking my beer. Now, if I invite you to my room as a female, okay, am I inviting you there just so we can continue the conversation we were having at the bar? Or am I inviting you to my room so we can do stuff? So, I mean, I'm trying to look at this at other perspectives. Why do you go to the room? Why did the girl go with Kobe Bryant when her boyfriend was sitting right there at the bar with him?
To watch television and look at photos on his Facebook page, on his phone.
And
to play Parcheesi, to play Scrabble with him. That's obviously that's why women go to your room.
I'm not saying it's their fault, but I'm
You're
saying
fence sitting. Just go for it. Go for it. Come on.
I mean, let's take a little responsibility that you were starstruck and you went into a room alone with some creep that is an entertainer that you have no idea what his private life is like. All you know is he's funny on television and on stage. You don't know what he's like, you know? So, I mean, it's just one of those.
In my experience, I have taken a lot of fucking chicks back to the hotel room. And
no way.
And every time I did it, it was consensual. And sometimes I was dragged by them. And some of these times, right, like a lot of the time they're complete strangers, and we would fuck. And then I would say some horrible shit like I do, like within the first 5 minutes. And then she just looks at me fucking weird, me like, you know, like I would say the Manson thing was kind of funny. Creepy crawly. Come on. He said some funny shit. Right. He was a funny guy. He like the fact that anyone like believed that how all the stupid shit that he was saying and how stupid they were, that's kind of funny. That would turn them right off. They'd be like, he's a fucking psychopath, right? And at that point, they would leave. Okay.
All right.
So, a lot of the time, it's not about like, it's not about taking a conversation that you're having at a bar and taking her into and you know, talking her up and doing all that kind of stuff. Right. Because like that's the old school method of picking a chick up and banging her. Right. Just like the everyman's thing is like you got to the bar, you had a drink. Hey, can I buy you a beer? Fucking 3 beers later or shot or whatever, apple teenies or whatever the fuck she's drinking. Right. After that, she's all horned up. She's ready to go. She wants to go most of the time. If she doesn't want to go with you and she doesn't want to really, if she doesn't want to go with you, she's not going to go with you. Unless you fucking physically drag her and other people see you physically drag her out of the bar and into your room. She wants to go with you. If she's
Right.
come up with you in the room, and this is where women where we're from will argue, and I just let you know, bring it. Okay, let's go. Okay, but they will argue this at this point. They want to fuck, and if they don't, they will say that they don't want to fuck.
Absolutely.
Every time. And I've been in the situation where I've brought them to my room and they didn't want to fuck. They legit wanted to hang out and get to know me more. That's fine. And at that point, I say, okay, I'm going back to the bar.
Yeah.
See you later.
So I mean, and like I said, my legacy, for me, I'm quite shy as a human being in situations like what you're talking about. And so my legacy is, and I learned this a long time ago, is just always watch what you're doing, and like in that job interview with the Chinese lady, she says, we don't provide a Chinese aid with the teacher. You're in a class with 6 kids by yourself. Can you handle that? And I basically told her, I was like, when I tutored drums for a year, I forced the parents to sit in that studio room with me and watch me teach, because I am not getting accused of anything, man. It takes one false accusation, I'm fucked. I was like, and I don't like that.
So that's the danger of the Me Too thing, because they're going after everybody. They don't only go after celebrities. They go after everybody with this fucking thing. So that's my only issue with how this case was handled. There was, 50 people coming forward. That should be enough evidence. That should be fucking enough evidence and stuff, right? But in circumstances like what my friend went through, what I'm sure some of your friends have gone through, what divorce law is and shit, where she says you were fucking around, but there's no proof of it. Things like that, I think that's dangerous. I think when you start fucking singling people out without concrete evidence based on hearsay or acts that happened decades ago, that's kind of fucked up. And that should be handled in a better way. Now, I haven't researched any of this shit, and everyone who's commenting, calling me a bigoted, sexist asshole, okay, that's fine. I haven't really read enough of this stuff on here. We thought it would be a fun thing to talk about and give our perspective and let you guys know what we think about the Bill Cosby thing and the legality behind the Bill Cosby thing.
Right. And legally, like I said, he is still guilty. He's guilty. He admitted to it.
That's phenomenal how he's out.
But because of the way the law works, that prosecutor made him a promise. And if he would not have made that promise, then Bill Cosby wouldn't have signed that document saying that he did it to pay that lady $3.38 million. And they would have had to take him to court to charge him criminally and then prove. And then that's where you get into the he said, she said shit.
Yeah.
And it's his word against her word in a room where no one else was, and I don't know how long Quaaludes stay in your system. I enjoy Quaaludes, but I don't know so I don't know, but even then, I mean, I love my beer. I could pick a girl up at a bar, and all she drinks is beer. And then we have sex, and the next day she wakes up and she's like, oh, fuck, I'm married. I fucked up. She can go to the cops. Oh, that guy, attacked me and he got me drunk, and they could test her. And there's alcohol in her system. Well, we're at a fucking
that
bar,
happens too. She gets caught by the boyfriend or the husband.
Right.
And she says, no, well, he drugged me. He got me drunk and fucked me. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't remember anything. I blacked out.
So it's a confusing topic.
Yeah.
And legally, this is cut and dry. I mean, honestly, he can be as happy as he wants, and so can Ahmad Rashad's wife can be as happy as she wants. he's still guilty. He's never going to work again. Nobody's going to hire him.
Well,
you
he's
know?
pretty much at the end of his life too, man. He's like 83 years old
yeah,
and all that.
But and like you said, I mean, the sentence was 3 to 10 years. He did 3. So, and the only reason, and what it was, and I was reading it here, was he got denied parole, and the reason was because he was supposed to participate in and complete additional institutional programs, and he refused to do it. So, he was supposed to take these programs and he wouldn't do it. And so his first parole hearing came up and they realized that he wasn't doing what was court ordered because he knew he was going to get out. I mean, he knew that with the appeals and the money that he has and the lawyer that he hired, he's going to take it as far as the Supreme Court. And then the bottom line is this lady says, there is no way. What is it? There's no way that the only person that can overturn it now is the Supreme Court, and there's no way the Supreme Court will even look at this case because it means nothing to them, So, and the statute of limitations have run out on everybody else. That lady got paid. We got a serial rapist that's once he gets used to farting and actually making noise again, he'll probably be out there doing the same thing that he's accustomed to doing the 1970s, and that's the sad part,
taking dumps on little girls now.
And by the American justice system, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's how come, and totally on topic, that's how come Donald Trump has gotten away with this all his life until he put himself in the public view as president, and he fucked himself. Now, if he would have stayed out of public view, he could have lived the rest of his life doing all this that Bill Cosby did and got away with it. But
we'll do a Trump episode another time.
Okay, but anyhow,
that one's too long. That's like 10 times bigger than the Bill Cosby story.
But it's because they're rich. They can afford the best lawyers, and the people that they're fighting are usually not rich. And so what they do is they just drop the criminal case, go to the civil court. They're more lenient on evidence. All you have to say is prove to the fucking judge that, he raped me, and they give you punitive damages and an award. You agree on it. Bill Cosby paid $3 million out of
15 minutes of fame, $3 million. It's interesting, right? It's I'm not saying that they don't deserve any kind of retribution if that did happen to them. Clearly, they should be compensated in some way, especially from a guy who has all this money, especially after living with that for so long. If it was a big deal to you, if it was fucked up to you, right? And you've been living with that your whole life and you just felt like shit the whole time. Oh yeah, for sure.
Here's my point though. If I have $500,000 fucking dollars, and one of these gold diggers that we know of in Southeast Asia, fucking it came at me and tried to fucking say I did something to her and it's all because she wants a piece of my money. And I know
happened in Southeast Asia.
I'm just saying, and I know in America, and I know I didn't do it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to pay the money.
No,
you know what I mean?
That's true.
I'm not the money for something I didn't do.
Absolutely.
I don't expect. I don't expect a guy that hired me tonight to go play drums at a bar 2 hours ago to pay me today for something I didn't show up for. Yeah. I sure as hell ain't paying for something I didn't do. Yeah. So when he cut that $3.38 million check, he said, "I did it. Please don't go anywhere with this. Have a nice life. I still got a handful of fucking roofies at my house that I got to use for
essentially. Yeah.
So
I got a box of Frosted Flakes full of them.
And there's like, there's I don't hate, but there's people in this world that I think do not belong on our planet. People that abuse kids and rapists, male or female rapists, they should be buried under the jail. They're
Yes,
just
absolutely.
degenerate.
Yeah.
There's nothing to me, So anything I said, if I said anything that made it sound like the devil's advocate, that's the legal perspective. As a guy that is trained in law, I'm not licensed to practice law, but I know the law.
Mhm.
Um, like I said, if I'm accused of doing something in America and I have $400 million and they're saying, "Hey, Bob, for $2 million, we can make this go away," I'm like, "No, I didn't do it. How about for $0, we make this go away by showing them I didn't do it?" Fuck
Yeah.
that. I don't care.
In
So
Southeast Asia, rape's a different thing. Okay, it's kind of like what you do a lot of the time. It's like that's the first date to a lot of them. Like we'll get off topic just for a second here. So I'm in Vietnam. I think it's second or third day, and I've already banged a lot of them, and by then, without doing this, and I go to a fancy crab shrimp thing where you sit on the side of the road and they bring you fancy food, but it's so it's like what would cost you $100 back home in seafood, but you're being fed it on the street at a kiddie table, right? They want to with the plastic chairs and shit.
I love those places, man.
Yeah, I love them too. They're fucking great. It costs you like $5 to eat all this shit,
Yeah.
king crab and all this shit, right? So
Yeah.
I mean that, and one of the waitresses comes over, and she doesn't have shaved legs. She has really hairy legs. She's a woman. She's cute. Just has hairy legs. I'm like, whatever, right?
From Cambodia.
Yeah. And the other one that comes over to pour the beer chick, because there's always a food chick and a beer chick, and the beer chick's in there, and she's hot. And I'm smiling, and she's smiling. She's like, they're having a good time. And the two Vietnamese guys who are older dudes, I'd say late 50s, are sitting across from me, and they're like, "You want her?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, you want to fuck her? I'm like, "Okay, right." And they're like, "Well, just do it." I'm like, "What do you mean? Just grab her?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna just grab her and just take her and throw. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, just grab her and run to the taxi and just throw her in and just go to my room and fuck her?" Yeah, it's Vietnam, and they weren't drunk and they weren't fucking kidding me. And the other guy, and then I wouldn't do it because I was a rookie at that time in that place, so I didn't know how it fucking goes. And they started grabbing other waitresses and being really grabby, like ass grabbing shit, like shit that you would see from an old World War II vet in 1970 in a diner in Houston. Come on, doll, right? Like one of those shit things, right?
This is a good topic to bring up for another show, because you're right. I noticed that when I was in Vietnam was every white expat, Australia, New Zealand, American, they think even the honest women that work two jobs to help their families, that are honest women, honest women, they think they can be bought. They just got this idea that every Asian woman in Southeast Asia is for sale, and then we should discuss that, because there was a time where I was gonna knock a guy out for offending my friend, and she said, "Bob, don't." She goes, "This is something we have to put up with so that we get paid, waiting tables here. Our boss knows he won't do nothing about it, but we have to tolerate it because they keep drinking beer and our boss makes money off it. And so just leave it alone."
Yeah. So this Cosby shit playing out in Vietnam, that would never happen. Never. No, not in 500 fucking years from now. That would never happen. That's like, he did this. You're saying that fucking Ong back here gave Quaaludes to Chicho or whatever the fuck her name was, or TT, and 40 years ago, and rubbed his balls on her, and now you're saying that she wants retribution from this.
Right.
That would never fucking happen, dude.
Right.
Never.
No.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of this. Reminds me of a story of the 40-year grudge. This actually happened in Vietnam 40 fucking years ago. This guy in school was bullied all the time by these people.
Happens.
40 years later, this guy goes to this 40-year reunion, walks up to his bully, and kills him right there on the spot. And when they asked him, why did you kill that guy? He goes, that fucker bullied me all through high school. I hated him.
He waited 40 years.
40 years that guy waited and got his revenge, man. Yeah.
Did he go to jail?
Oh, yeah.
That's a cool story.
Yeah, but it really happened, dude.
Yeah.
I remember.
I'd buy that guy a beer. It's like, I think you should have. I don't think you that's something that's definitely the Asian trait of not being able to let something go ever.
Yeah.
Your buddy owes you $4 from 1983. You're not.
Yeah.
You're never going to let it go.
You waited 40 years, and I remember because when I was a rookie in Vietnam, and I was reading the story. It came out in the American or the English version of the Vietnam News or whatever. Guy stabs dude 40 years or stabs his bully 40 years afterwards. I'm like, wow, that guy held a grudge.
That's
to hold on to
shit
for 40 fucking years, man.
It takes death for them to forgive or forget something. Death.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think that's fucking old school. My grandma hated my uncle. Well, my second uncle, I guess I don't know how he's related to her in some way, right? But some family member of mine hated him for 30-something years. Just hated his guts because he wouldn't put money into the family business because it was a failing business, and rightfully so. He shouldn't have put money in it because everyone who did lost money. Right. And then finally, my grandpa died, and then finally she was like, "Oh, okay, I don't care now. It's fine now. Yeah, he's dead. Hey, whatever. It's all good, right?"
Dude, here's the best one.
Yeah.
I mean, we totally went off topic here, but
whatever.
So Upper Michigan, which is like a shithole of America, nothing but rednecks, and that's where my mother's from.
Okay.
And my grandfather, the guy I thought was my grandfather.
Okay.
World War II veteran, fucking served the South Pacific. Just a great human being, kind of smelled funny like a backwoods dude, but whatever.
Right on.
Anyhow, I was living in Green Bay at the time. My mom calls, and me and her don't get along too well, but she's like, your grandfather passed away. If I fly into Green Bay, will you take me, to the funeral from Green Bay to the UP, which is like a 5-hour drive? I'm like, sure. So we drive, and it's an amazing thing. We drive through, I'm from California. I drive her through whiteout snow, fucking incredible snowstorm to get to this little fucking village in the peninsula of Michigan. Go to this funeral. Everyone's bawling, and grandpa's dead, and it's like 100 below zero. The guy playing taps is like really fucking the dog on it because it's so cold. And me and my cousin couldn't stop laughing, so they kicked us out of the funeral. And as soon as the funeral's over, we go to get those nasty funeral sandwiches. My auntie, who I loved dearly, looks at my mom and she goes, "Oh, by the way, that guy we buried wasn't your real father."
Fuck, man. All the way until then.
They kept it a secret until the day he died, and then found out that the reason that everyone treated her like shit her whole life was because everyone but her knew he was an illegitimate child.
What a fucking that is a shitty thing to go through. Can you imagine that?
If you knew my mom, you would be gut laughing right now.
Oh, okay, she's a bitch, huh?
Yeah, she's just a terrible person, man.
Okay,
yeah. My buddy John lived in Okinawa for a while, and he married a Japanese girl. He has three sons. One of them plays baseball for Louisiana Tech. They're actually, and so anyhow, me and John been friends forever, and he sent me a picture of him with his boys when they're young, and I showed my mom, and she saw that the boys were half Asian, and she goes, "What? He couldn't find a white girl?"
Oh my God.
So just me talking to you right now, she would
yeah,
like, "Why do you got that? Why do you got
yeah,
that fucking
yeah,
that chain on there with you?
What's he
So,
doing down here?
can't you find a gay white guy to host the show with?"
No
No, she'd
idea.
hate Tanner too. She'd hate
Yeah,
Tanner
yeah.
too. Yeah, but yeah. So
Why don't you go down to the Walmart and get a real friend to come to play with you on the internet? Why don't you go do that?
she'd come home from work and my house would be full of Filipinos, blacks, Mexicans, a couple white guys. You know, I didn't.
Did she have the redneck accent?
She had lost her accent. She had been gone a while. She joined the Navy, and then in those days, if you got pregnant, she meant my father was from Tennessee. That's where I get my name from, Bobby Joe. I was named after him. But she was a virgin.
Sure.
And
Sure.
met this guy who turned out to be a total prick. He left me when I was about 5, never talked to me again. He's still alive. He's the reason I don't respect cops.
Should bring him on the show.
He won't talk to me. I was on my deathbed. I was literally almost dead when I was 17.
Yeah.
And we had not talked to him in 15, 16 years. And my mom decided to take it upon herself for attention. And she got a hold of him through my aunt and said, "Yeah, your firstborn son is about 5 minutes away from dying. He's in intensive care. Do you want to come see him?" And his quote was, "I don't want a fucking thing to do with that guy."
Nice.
And so, yeah, nice. Good parents.
Nice guy. There you go.
Yeah. So she met him,
family.
and he was a Catholic, which I was baptized Catholic, and so she had to have kids. And then he left us, which was cool because he was just a mean guy. And for the rest of my life, I heard from my mother, I should have let you go with your dad, or I should have just gave you away once he left because I don't want you guys either. So
my grandma would tell my retarded uncle almost every day of his life when he was from when he could understand till now, "I should have just thrown you in a bag, thrown you in the garbage." Like they do to girls in China. "I should have put you in the bag."
And it's funny because here, like Cambodia, family is everything, right?
Yeah.
And family is everything. And so when I meet people, well, I don't meet anybody anymore. I just stay home. But when I would meet people, they talk about their family, and then they look at me and they're like, "Well, what about your family?" And I'm like, "I don't want to talk about my family, and the reason is because I don't talk to them. I mean, I literally haven't talked to them in years, and I'm happy for it." And
so you can choose your family, but you can choose your family despite popular belief that you're stuck with the one. You can choose who you give a fuck about and who gives a fuck about you.
Well,
that's your family.
I think those whack jobs that think that they can, they have an audience and they can tell you your dead uncle's here and he's standing behind you. Shit. I once bartended at a show like that of a famous lady that allegedly can do that. But one of the things that she did say that stuck to me, she said, "Just because they're your blood family doesn't mean you have to like them.
Doesn't mean you have to love them or respect them either."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If they're assholes, they're assholes.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't,
and
even if they aren't assholes and you just don't like each other, like that's
that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So whatever, man.
It's a genetic thing that happens, right? Like you're passed down. You came out of the balls of one guy into the pussy of another, and then that pussy squeezed you out as an infant monkey thing, and it raised you up until the point of understanding, and then you could choose what you decided was right and wrong, and whether they did a good or bad job kind of depicts how quickly you did that from the age of understanding. And then from that point, dude, you're on your own. Right. That's how it is. And most people don't think that. Here's one thing I want to touch on real quick, and I know the Bill Cosby episode is over, but we're still talking. It's cool. If you're still watching this, thank you so much. Please remember to press subscribe and share. Let's use the nice word, mentally handicapped. Okay.
Okay.
When I was a kid in Canada, I noticed that the only mentally handicapped people that I saw were white people, but this is not true. And I asked my mom, like, why are there only like mentally handicapped white people? And I was like, well, it's not true. There's actually tons of Asian handicapped people. She actually said retards. There's tons of fucking Chinese retards, Adam. Look at your uncle. Word for word. She's cold. It's cool. But she would tell me.
For people that don't know, Asians are very upfront about what they're thinking, and
it just comes out.
It comes out. If you're fat, they'll tell you you're fat.
Yeah, immediately. If you're ugly, they don't like something, they'll just say it right away. It's fucked up. Unless you have more money than them, in which case they will just say whatever you want to hear. And it's an incredibly bad thing. That's why Bob and I are still laughing it up in Asia and haven't left yet. We're always right all the time because we got fucking maybe like 10K in our bank account, and that makes us fucking billionaires here. So, but there's other people are she said there are tons of mentally handicapped Asian people, and they just stay with their families, and they're taken care of, and they stay inside, and their families will take care of them, and they don't bring them out because they are an embarrassment to the family.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, right? And then, like, some of them will actually euthanize them. Someone will kill them off, like when they're young.
I see that here. Like, they still have, landmine issues all over Southeast Asia from all the wars that they've had over the last 100 years.
Oh, I don't like where this is going.
But I see guys, wheeling around begging for money because the family won't help them once they become handicapped. It's
oh no, I was talking about mentally handicapped. So like they're already like, I thought what you were going to go with was like they take the fucking mentally handicapped guy and they send him into the minefield to go out there. Like, go get him, Josh. Okay. There's candy over there, Josh. Okay. Button bow. Boom.
that would be almost very funny, except for the Iraqis actually did that.
It's fucked up, man.
They strapped a vest to a guy that was mentally ill.
Oh my God.
Told him to walk into a market.
And he did it.
And they did. And they blew him up.
Batman's there to see you. You got to go say hi to Batman. He's in there. I love Batman.
His autograph,
That's fucked up.
Okay, so we almost hit 70 hits on our last show. We'll be about -5 on this one.
Oh yeah, please turn it off now. Just don't watch it anymore from here. It's getting worse. Bob and I have both had very stressful weeks, and we're both doing a lot of shit right now. So you are experiencing a stressed out week show, but that's good. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this one and that you've learned something from at least the first 30 minutes of this, and then everything else that came afterwards. I sincerely apologize now to everyone.
I got a lot on my plate. I got like a fucking interview coming up again, and I got a lesson plan to make, and I got a video I gotta film. I gotta film that fucking video, and so it's been a tough one.
It's looking good. I gotta say, your set has developed a lot. You got this, like what? Is that a blanket on the couch? Is it like leather underneath?
This is the blanket that the girl that said she loved me 2 years ago gave me this blanket, and a week later she never talked to me again.
And you're gonna keep that for 40 years, and then find her and strangle her with that blanket.
It's staying with the apartment once I leave.
Okay, that's good. You just don't get rid of shit.
I take all my music shit with me, man. I could buy another blanket, man. But yeah. Well, we just switch it around, you know. I'm gonna get a desk and shit, you know, and I want to find some props. But
I would hope we can get into Nam soon to go and set up a real studio thing. I showed you that footage from that interview I did in Bangkok earlier, and like the guy's desks was like it was all about the desk, man. Like the desk is the shit, and then you can like lean your stuff up on here, and like we can have it like pointing like this.
That's what I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on my keyboard to come in, and then I have on order the mic stand with the cool little fucking Howard Stern fucking deal, and
then
I'm
Frisbee thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna look super cool and all that, and get that going. But I don't want to buy it now because like this fucking keyboard I bought was supposed to be in the end of last month, and it's still not in yet.
Yeah, I want really nice chairs too. Like like really the spinny chair with the wheels on it and shit. Like that'd be really nice.
I need to hear some tones on a piano so I can write Mikey the Cunt. You know, I mean, it's really killing me that I don't write this song because he was such a cunt. You know,
you could do a cappella, I guess, for now.
Yeah, well, I'm not singing it. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
We'll give it to that cool chick on YouTube. She seems to be handling business pretty good.
Oh, no, amazing. Charlotte. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for watching, Charlotte. You are such a talent.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm not going to edit that. She's not going to watch this whole thing. She turned it off by the time we were talking about retards walking into the minefield. There's no way. Like, come on, that's funny shit. It's horrible, but funny shit. All right.
Hey, when you have a rough week and long week like we have, it's good to have his shit once in a while.
Yeah,
man,
you've seen some shit. Okay, you've seen some shit. You've done some tours. You know, mine.
Okay.
No fucking laughing matter.
We have a comment section down there. You can talk all the shit you want about me. I have thick skin. Just don't talk about my family and we're fine, man. But
they're going to talk about your family now, just like immediately.
Yeah. There you go. Bring it. I don't care.
All right. Sweet. Good episode. Stay on, okay?
Yeah.
Here we go.